Okay.
Hi
Blessed
everyone.
Hello,
Good
like a
hello
evening.
to
Uganda man
everyone.
today.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good
Good
evening,
evening,
Emily. How
Phoenix.
are you?
Good evening,
Fine.
got a
Hi
bag.
Shauto.
Good
Hi
evening, Angel.
Godabeg.
Good
Hi
evening, Phoenix.
Angel.
Good evening,
Good
everyone.
evening, Witch
With
Valley.
Valley. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Henry, for the admin.
Phoenix, I just finished got through looking at your latest content videos.
Let me turn on my camera first.
All I'm gonna say is hips don't lie.
Oh my goodness. Shanta, where did you see the hips? There are no hips, there are no hands. So where did you see the hips? I broke my promise to Man United. Oh my goodness. God, I beg. Leave football alone. Mr. Henry, you're welcome. I think we are good to go like this now, right? Kelly, you're welcome. Who is that person talking? That's why I'm hope. Guys, my destiny, I cannot even bring my backup in so I can start doing the tap, 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 tap. Oh my goodness. We'll just leave the lights at whatever we get today, honestly. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in, Mr. Henry. So, I'll just mute for now because today our facilitator will be Mr. Wheat Valley. It's going to take us today on mindset resets. So let's hear from him on how to build and optimize our conscious and subconscious mind. So Mr. Whitfall, you can take the floor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Guys, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. Basically, what I want to take you through, I did not get enough time to prepare very well, so I'm going to take you through some few things. So most of the time, you are going to spend it in Q&A. I'm going to give you enough time to ask questions. So basically, what we are going to talk about is mind. Okay, because mind is a huge topic. I'm going to classify it in a way that is very comprehensive. I'm going to put it in a way that makes logical sense. So that's why I would actually want to Hinex not to switch off your mic. So every time you feel like you want to know something, you need some clarity, you can tell me and maybe try to clarify what I'm talking about, if it's okay. Or maybe we can wait and we ask at the end at the same time if you have where you're recording. So let's start with the mind. Okay. So I believe many of you have an idea of what a mind is. I don't know if any of you has their definition before I go into mine, before I unfold mine. Is there anyone who can give me their idea or definition? When I say mind, what comes into your mind? Let's try to see if we are on the same page. Anyone, please. Are you in talking terms with me?
Exactly. If we're in talking terms. From my own understanding, whenever the word mind comes to, whenever the word mind is mentioned, what comes to my, I wanted to use the word mind also. What comes to my brain is your brain and also your arts. So I think the art and the brain works together to make up the mind. So that's what comes to me whenever I hear the word mind being mentioned.
Okay. I believe many of you, actually, many of the people who are listening to me right now, that's the idea they have of the mind. But I'm going to give you something a little bit different from that. I know many of you, this is what you believe to be the mind. But mind is basically memory. Mind is memory. That is the simplistic way of looking at it. Okay? Mind is a construct of memory, and I'm going to take you through the sections or different levels of mind. But mind is something so huge. So I can tell you there are different levels of mind. For example, there is like I said, it's memory. So there is genetic memory, there is evolutionary memory, there is comic memory, there is atomic memory, there is articulate and inarticulate levels of memory. They are huge levels of memory. In fact, your mind contains different levels of mind starting from the time of the universe, when the universe began. Your body still remembers even the Big Bang. When everything began, it is encoded into your body, into this body that we call this machine. Actually, this body is a machine, is a biological mechanism. So it has tremendous amount of memory. Okay, it's operating there. So memory is nothing without intelligence. So what is intelligence in this case? You are intelligence. What we call I am is the intelligence that manifests through this physical body that we call, which is actually the construct of the mind. I'm going to be going deeper a little bit into that. So let's look at the different levels of memory. Let's try to look at the sections of the memory. I'm going to break it into two. Okay, there is what we call the conscious memory, or the conscious mind, and the subconscious mind. So I'll start with the conscious mind. The conscious mind, many of you know it very well, is the mind that we use for reasoning. The conscious mind is that mind that we use for critical thinking, making those decisions and making choices. Right now, as I'm trying to find the right word to speak, I'm using my conscious mind to know what to talk about and what not talk about. So it's the logical mind, the mathematical mind that calculates and make conscious decisions. It's a mind that we use consciously. I know every one of you know what I mean when I say a conscious mind. It sits in here in front of your brain, the part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex or the frontal lobe, which is here. And this conscious mind is the seat of your identity. So your identity sits, okay, in the conscious mind. I'll go deeper into that also. So that is one section of the mind. Now there is also another part of the mind, which is the subconscious mind. Of course, I know many of you have heard about this mind, but actually very few people understand how this mind operates and how it functions. Okay, this is the most important part of your mind that you should know. Okay, because yes, we have the conscious mind, but you're going to be astonished, you're going to be surprised for me to say that your conscious mind is an add-on option. Since it's an option, many people don't use it. I remember last week we had a discussion where I talked about making we talked about being reactive and also responding. I think everyone remembers who attended the last week's session. There is an argument I made that there are some people, most of the people react to situations. So when you react to situations, you're actually using your subconscious mind. You're not using your conscious mind. And yet your conscious mind is the most evolved part of your brain. It's the recent part of your evolution in brain development, your conscious mind. But most people don't use it. It's an add-on option, okay? Most people don't use it. And every time you react, if you're reacting, just you bypass your thinking brain and start operating from your primitive brain, which is the subconscious mind, because the word sub means below. So it is operating below your conscious awareness. It's operating when you don't know that it is operating. That's why it's called the subconscious mind. For example, when I say submarine, I mean that machine that moves below water. When I say subway, I mean the road that moves below the ground. So when I say subconscious mind, I mean the mind that operates below your conscious awareness. It is operating when you don't know that it's operating. So that is your subconscious mind. Is extremely powerful. It contains tremendous amount of memory. It does all activities for you. Its operation speed or its processing power, I'm going to compare it with your conscious mind. You see the level, the difference. The processing power of your conscious mind is said to be around 40 bits of information per second. It can process 40 bits of information every second, but your subconscious mind can process 40 million bits of information per second. So you can say it's 1 million more powerful than your conscious mind, okay? And your subconscious mind, it is always managing your life or controlling your daily life about 98% of the time, okay? 98% of the time, it is your subconscious mind that is managing your life, controlling your life. So you can imagine the part of your mind that has a processing power of about 40 million bits of information per second, and it's running your life around 98% every day. So you can see the difference between your conscious and your subconscious mind. So you can see that most of our life on a daily basis is controlled by our subconscious mind, not our reasoning. And it's funny that we think that we control our life, okay? So if you think you control your daily life, then you can do the math and see that your subconscious mind that controls over 98% of your behaviors, or the conscious mind that controls about 40 bits of information per second, its processing power, but also controls about 2% on your daily activities. So that is your subconscious mind. And like I said, the mind is memory. The mind is memory. So I can give you an example of how the subconscious mind is going to operate. You see, your conscious mind, when you're using your conscious mind, is when you're consciously driving this vehicle, this biological mechanism. You're in control. You're driving. That's when you're paying attention. For example, you guys are paying attention to me. Yeah? So when you're paying attention, you're not thinking. Okay? When you're paying attention, your attention is outside. So when you're thinking, you're not paying attention because your awareness is going to be directed in your mind. You're going to be reading the files in your mind, okay? The awareness is going to be lighting those files in your mind. I think you know what I mean when I say lighting the files in your mind. So the awareness is either in the conscious mind, paying attention, or in the mind, inside your head, thinking. But it cannot do two things at the same time. It cannot think when it's paying attention. It can only do one thing. That's extremely important to understand. Okay? You can either pay attention or be inside thinking. So when you're thinking, when you're inside your head, you're not paying attention. So if you're not paying attention, who is taking your life? Who is taking care of your life? Who is driving this vehicle? It is the subconscious mind. By default, it takes on the wheels and starts driving into your life. But now this is very important. It's going to take us to the question of how these two minds learn. Okay? In fact, for those of you who have been watching my videos, there's a video I made talking about why some people read a lot of books. They are extremely intelligent. They know everything. They can answer any question if you ask them. But that kind of information, that kind of intelligence doesn't reflect into their life. They are very poor. For example, professors. You can find a professor of economics, okay, is a lecturer, and it's very poor. Why? Why is this? It has something to do with your mind, and that's exactly what I'm going to be explaining next year. So I'm going to explain how these two minds work. How do they learn? Because they learn differently, and this is the most important thing for people to understand, because most of the people think when they read a book and they remember what is in the book, they think they have everything. So they think those things should manifest in their lives. No, that's not how it works. Okay, because the conscious mind, which has a processing power of about 40 bits of information per second, is the conscious mind. It learns differently from the subconscious mind that controls the biggest part of your life, and also which has a very powerful processing power. Okay, so how does the conscious mind learn? The conscious mind, how does it learn? The conscious mind, it is very creative. So it can learn in a number of ways. It can learn in different ways. Your conscious mind, by listening to what I'm talking right now, it is learning. You're learning something from this information I'm giving you. So your conscious mind is learning all this information. You can learn by listening to an audiobook. You can learn by watching a movie. You can watch a movie and learn something in a movie. You can, it is creative, so it can learn different ways. But unfortunately, your subconscious mind doesn't learn like that. Okay, your subconscious mind learns in two fundamental ways, naturally. Okay, naturally, the subconscious mind learns. There are many ways it learns, but naturally. Okay, when I say naturally, I think you know what I mean. Naturally, it learns in two ways, only two ways. One is called hypnosis. I don't know if you're familiar with hypnosis. Then the second one is through habituation. Okay, so what is hypnosis? Now, when Mother Nature or our Creator, or you can call it God or the universe or what, doesn't matter what you call it, it means the Creator, the one who created it, because we are here, because we are created. There's a Creator, there's an intelligence behind our being here. So that intelligence, it is beyond our intellect. It's extremely intelligent. So when a child is brought into this world, you cannot get a book and you give it to a 1-year child that you read so that you can get the instruction to operate on when you get into this world. No, life doesn't work like that. So Mother Nature makes a child's brain, puts a child's brain into a state of hypnosis, okay, or a brain wave. For those of you who understand how the brain works, there's a brain wave. I'll be talking about the waves. The brain we call the theta brain wave. Theta is equivalent to hypnosis. So hypnosis is when your brain is in a hyper suggestible state, when it's highly suggestible, when the brain is when everything that comes into contact with your 5 senses, it goes into your subconscious mind uncensored. So a child's brain, if you could get a machine, there's a machine that measures the electrical activity of the brain. One machine is called EEG. Another one is called EEG is electroencephalography. It measures the electrical activity of the brain. There is also another machine known as the magnetoencephalography. Those machines, they are used to measure the electrical activity of the brain. So if you measure a child's brain in between 0 to 7 years, it's going to emit a different level of emission from an adult. It's going to be different. So a child's brain is going to be in hypnosis. It's going to be in a theta brain wave. So why is that? It is the Mother Nature puts a child's brain in that state because this is the learning state. A child's brain is open. Everything that comes into contact with the 5 senses goes into the mind uncensored. So the child observes. You're going to be surprised to know that a child is born when almost 50% of their personality is already established. A child learns a lot when it's still in a mother's womb. Every experience a mother goes through, a child picks on it. Okay, every emotional, reaction that a mother gets when is pregnant, a child is actually learning from those experiences emotionally. So that's why a child can get born, and you see that something small can trigger a child, and you see that is behaving in a certain way, not knowing that is actually reacting from the emotional states that he picked from the mother. And as I know for sure, most of the girls are here in Africa, those who get pregnant when they're still young, they go through a lot of emotional problems. Okay, some of them are denied by their boyfriends, others are chased away from home. They have totally nothing with them. Everything can be so frustrating. So you can imagine a mother going through that and has a child in the stomach. So you can imagine which kind of a child is going to be born. So understanding that, a child is picking a lot of information, is learning. When he's born, he also start observing the environment. He learns through observation. He's not going to read anything. He copies the dad. He's going to see how the father talks to the mother, how the father talks to the police officer, how the father talks to the chairman, how the father talks, is going to be picking those behaviors subliminally on an unconscious level. So when the child reaches a certain age, when the intellect, when the prefrontal cortex comes on to play, when the brain, the thinking brain is activated, that's around age 8, then he starts putting those things that he learned into practice, and start, exercising them into their life. Okay, so right now at our age here, most of the behaviors that are controlling our entire life, we learned them from when we are still in between that age. It's called the first anabolic cycle of growth. So if you grow up in a family where your mother, I know most of the African setup, the parents who are unconscious, they could speak ill things to their children. There's some parents here in Africa can tell that, you, look at you, who'll marry you? You'll never get married. You can say that as a joke when you're actually not meaning it. But if it gets into the child's subconscious mind, it is going to start actually influencing their lives. It's going to influence who they are. There are some people who go to, for example, in a supermarket with their kids, and the child is like, hey, daddy, I want that. And they say, no, my son, we cannot afford that. Yes, you can. Maybe you cannot afford it, but when it goes into the subconscious mind, it's going to create tremendous amount of limitations. When this child grows up, those things are going to be blocking, in different intricate ways that you cannot even explain. But you have to understand that those beliefs that were implanted into your subconscious mind are the ones that actually controlling your life right now. The decision that you make, things that you love, things you're afraid, the phobias that you have, all those things are actually programmed within your subconscious mind. Either you programmed it consciously or you got it from other people. Most of the things that we have in our subconscious mind, unfortunately, they are not our own. We picked them from the environment where we grew up. So you can see that it's extremely important to understand the content of your subconscious mind. And the best way of understanding the content of your subconscious mind is to pay attention to your manifestation. Like I said, your subconscious mind contains unconscious information. You're not conscious. You cannot see them. It's so funny that other people can see them, but you cannot see them. You cannot see them, but other people can see those behaviors. Why? Because every time when you pay attention, you don't play those behaviors. Because you're paying attention, you're the one driving this vehicle. This biological mechanism, you're the one driving it. But every time you go unconscious, every time you go into your mind and start thinking, the subconscious mind by default takes on the vehicle. So those behaviors that are in your subconscious mind, they express themselves when you're not seeing them. You should ask questions, because I know this is a little bit intricate, it's a little bit, you should ask questions, you should write that down so that I can go deeper and make it more articulate for you guys to understand if you're not getting like what I'm trying to say. So it is very, very important to understand these points, because these are things that are playing in our life every single day. They are playing on unconscious. You find a person doesn't like to smoke, but by compulsive is compulsively forced to smoke. Doesn't know why he doesn't want to smoke, but he finds himself smoking. What is that? Where does that force that influences that person to smoke? The person that, for example, there are some people who are again and again attracting bad boyfriends. For you attract almost the same boyfriend manifesting in different bodies. you get the non-committer, you get the cheating boyfriend, you get this and that, and that. Every time you quit this one, you get another one. Every time, because within your subconscious mind, on an unconscious level, you have a program that is pushing you to attract that kind of a person. But all those things can be changed. Actually, in my books, for those of you who will follow and go to the link in my bio, you go to my website, you're going to see some of those things. Some of them are blogs, others are books that you can download and go deeper into this kind of information in the very, very easy way. I explained in the very simple ways people can really understand it. So I think we can ask some questions. I did not prepare well, that's why I'm saying this and that and that. But I think you're getting my point. You're trying to pick up something. If you have some questions, you can ask so that we can go on. But I think that's what I can say for now.
Okay, thank you so much, Rich Valley. Thank you for making us understand that we have the subconscious and conscious mind, and then knowing what the definition of mind actually is, because I never knew that the mind is the memory. But from what you've mentioned now, I've got to know that the mind is the memory. What I want to ask, you said our subconscious mind are things we pick from our environment. I don't know if you guys can hear me or my network is lagging. From the screen, I can see like I'm lagging. Okay. So you said whenever we are thinking, we are making use of our subconscious mind. Okay, I need more clarity on that, because I was thinking the consciousness, when you're conscious, that's when you're aware, when you're self-aware, right? So I was thinking our conscious mind should be what activates us into thinking, into going into research, wanting to like maybe analyze our daily activities or our past lifestyles and get to know if we are on track. So, but you mentioning that the subconscious mind is what we utilize when we are thinking. I really need more clarity on that. Can you please clarify further?
Yeah,
Welcome in
thank
everyone
you.
who's just joining.
Yes, thank you very much. That's a very important question. For you to truly understand, for you to really understand the conscious and subconscious mind, you have to understand who you are. You as you. Who are you? As I am. Who are you? That's extremely important. If you wake up in the morning and you look into the mirror and you see a reflection of your body and you think that's who you are, then you don't know who you are. Okay? So, who are we? This is extremely important for you to understand this thing, the question that you're asking. It's extremely important to understand who you are, because now some people think that we are the conscious mind. Others think that we are the subconscious mind. We are none of that. We are awareness. We are awareness. And awareness is consciousness. Some people call it consciousness. It doesn't matter what you think, but we are awareness. The awareness is the one that moves through different areas of the mind. Like I said, mind is memory. Doesn't matter if it's conscious or unconscious. It is memory. So the memory is like space. So the awareness is moving through space. Let me give you a simple demonstration for you to understand this, what I'm saying experientially, in an experiential way. I want you to close your eyes. Where you are, you close your eyes. I take you through a simple demonstration that can bring out this point for you to understand what I'm saying. Yeah? So right now, I want you to be aware of the chair you're sitting on. Okay? I want you to become aware of your phone. Now, I want you to be aware of the recent wedding you went to. Do you remember the bride? How was she dressed? Do you remember Do you remember the groom? Was he smart? Do you think the groom made a good choice? How, how was the food served? Did you eat food or you missed? Did you dance? Did you drink alcohol? Now I want you to be aware of your high school. Do you remember the headmaster or the head teacher? Do you remember the classroom where you used to sit? Do you remember that person who used to sit next to you? Now I want you to come back to become aware of your house where you are right now. I want you to become aware of your fridge. I want you to think about your oven. Now I want you to become aware of the seat that you're sitting on. Now you can open your eyes. So that demonstration, I wanted to show you that awareness can be directed in different spaces in your memories. All that information I've been talking about, all the questions that I was asking, they were in the memory. But it is the awareness, it's you, awareness, that was going in different areas of your memory, or seeing those memories, visiting those cabinets, retrieving that information and becoming aware of it. So it is the awareness, that's who you are. But you have to understand, awareness is like, let me give you another example. Just imagine you're going to a shop and you buy a laptop, okay? And you bring it, you want to play music, okay? And when you play music, it's not playing. Why? Because you did not download music into the laptop. So awareness cannot be aware without memory. Memory is extremely important for you to be aware. Without memory, you cannot be aware. That's why when a child is born, when a child is born, is not aware. He sees colors, but cannot construct reality. Why? Because reality cannot only be constructed from the memories that we have. Memories is extremely powerful. It is the memory that constructs this physical reality. For you, when you're moving on the street, okay, and you find someone and say, oh, this is my mom, this is my father, this is my friend, this is my uncle, this is my country, this is my school. It's a question of memory. The fact that you say that this is my country, this is not my country, this is my name, this is not my name, it's memory. Everything, it's memory. If you go deeper and deeper and deeper, you're going to realize that everything, it's memory, and it's awareness that's operating through this memory. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it does. Okay.
Any other question?
Okay, does anyone want to say something aside me? Does anyone want to say something before I go ahead? Okay. With value, someone is asking, God is asking in the comment section. He said, how do we direct the subconscious mind to learn what we want it to learn? Hello, Sergio. Welcome in.
He's asking how to reprogram your subconscious mind. I think that's the question, to reprogram so that you can put those things that you want, so that even when you're not paying attention, it is playing exactly what you want. Because in most cases, in fact, this is I am very clear in my book. In my books, when you go to and download my books, I'm very clear. I try to give very clear examples because I take time, try those books and give those logical examples. But here also I can give you some explanation that can help you. So reprogramming your subconscious mind, like I said, your subconscious mind learns naturally. It learns in two fundamental ways: repetition and hypnosis. Hypnosis, in my book, I talk about how you can put yourself in self-hypnosis, how you can hypnotize yourself and then start affirming to yourself. You put yourself into that state in the brainwave called the theta brainwave. You can do that on your own. Yes, that's one. You can also use affirmation, positive affirmation. I have very many in my books. In my book, you can use those positive. They are extremely powerful. Most people don't think they work. They actually work 100% if you learn how to use them. When you know how to put yourself in a right brain state so that they can easily go into your subconscious mind. And the moment it gets, this is the very interesting thing. It is extremely interesting to understand that when the information gets into your subconscious mind, it automatically plays itself. Okay, I don't know if you guys are familiar with hypnosis. I don't know if you have seen some hypnotic shows. There are some people who go on stage and do hypnosis and hypnotize people. Let me give you an example of one show I saw. There's a guy, he's called Paulo McKenna. He does stage hypnosis. So he could put people in a hypnotic state. Okay, he tells them that this finger is hot. A person can tell you this finger is hot, and when this belief is planted into your subconscious mind, and that person puts a finger on your hand like this, where they have put the finger is going to develop a blister. A blister is going to be formed because you have a belief that the finger is hot, so it's going to manifest in your life. I don't know if some of you have heard that this physical reality is not as real as we think it is. It is actually memory. Memory is constructing this physical reality, and we think it's real. I don't know if there are some videos that were going viral used by Google. Google, is it VO3? There's some application that does video for Google. You've seen those people, arguing, debating that we could be a prompt, This is something that people have to think about. This makes a lot of sense to me. We may think we are physical beings, okay? We are physical, we have a body, but it's if you understand how the mind works, you're going to start questioning the nature of reality, this physical reality. Whether it's physical or it's just energy vibrating at a very high speed on the subatomic level. It is something that you have to think about. It's something extremely interesting, and I wish you people could do.
Oh, you're saying the life we're living now is not reality. Is that what you're saying? That is a make-believe.
It's a bit, yes. This physical reality we see, and I know this why, because we think right now you see things as on a collective level. There is a way how we see things on a collective level. You see a car, I see a car. Okay, so we have a collective level of perception, but also we have a unique way of perceiving things on a certain level. For example, every human being, our nervous system perceives reality as humans. A human nervous system is going to reflect reality as a human. You perceive it as a human. But you have to understand also, like we have a thumb. Every human being has a thumb, but we have different fingerprints on the thumb. The fingerprints are going to make us different. So this physical reality, we perceive it the same way on the collective level, but there are some unique traits that we have as human beings. But we have to understand that what you're seeing right now, we know 100% that is not what reality is. Reality is made, we perceive reality the way it is, as it is necessary for our survival, but not as it is. Because right now, if, for example, you get a small neurological issue, you get something simple on your brain, you can start perceiving reality in a very different way. Your perception of reality is going to change, but it doesn't mean that reality has changed. It is your perception that has changed. So, you can see reality, you can see me, but when you're not seeing a person, when you're not perceiving a human being, when you're seeing something, this is what happens to crazy people, something in their perception changes. So reality is not as it is perceived, it's projected on our senses. This is a little bit tricky and deep.
How is it projected? Or how
It is
should it be projected?
Sorry?
How should reality be projected?
How?
Because now you're making me use my subconscious mind right now. Oh no, my conscious mind rather. You're making me use
Yeah.
my conscious. Am I using my conscious mind or the subconscious? Because I'm trying to think now. I'm
It is
trying
your
to like
conscious mind, yes.
analyze everything you said and make it make sense to me. Because from all what you just said, you said that this life we are living is a make believe. It's not a physical reality. It's making me question my existence already. It's making me question my sanity. Do you get?
And
So I
that's
want to
that's
understand if you, Mhm.
yes, and I think it's
Okay, Alex is
extremely
saying he wants to make a comment. Uh-huh,
sorry.
uh-huh.
I think that, like I said,
Alex said he wants.
okay,
Mhm.
go on.
Good evening, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can
I
hear
can
you,
hear you.
Alex. Good
Yes.
evening. Welcome in.
So, thank you very much. So, I really appreciate the insight, the level of insight that Woods Valley has on these on mind issues and on perception and reality and subjective and objective perception and things. Right. So, where I'm going is Woods Valley is indeed correct, right? How we perceive reality is dependent on state of mind. Sometimes it's dependent on our neurology. So it is why no human beings sometimes it's why different human beings have different views on different issues because we are different in a way. But we observe, but objectively, subjectively, we are different. We have different different neurological makeups, but objectively we can agree that color green is color green because we all have the same type of cells, right? Color green is color green because we all have the same type of cells in our minds. So human beings will agree that there's something called the color green, right? Then um, so perception basically can be altered. We can when you take certain drugs, for example, you feel as if you are you are maybe you are in heaven or seventh heaven. Somebody described an experience where he said he was so high that he felt as if he transported himself to another kind of universe that he felt like he was there for 15 years, right? It felt so real to him. It was a ceiling fan for 15 years. It felt so real to him, right? But meanwhile, he was in his room for not more than 2 3 hours thereabouts. So one's reality can seriously be altered, right? Then Witz Valley also mentioned something called hypnosis, right, and subjective reality. Now, my comment based on that is this, right, and the subconscious. Like over the years, from my own observation, right, I think Witz Valley is a Jungian. I also follow Jung too. So this subconscious thing. So we believe that and subconscious and the memory. So I think that this is warning. This might press just a bit. This might press some necks, but please just follow the logic, right? If you look at it, Witz Valley has established that the subconscious is like a seat of memory sometimes. So like long-term memory, like for example, if you maybe sometimes you hear one song, right? You hear one song, then all of a sudden you remember something from your childhood, an experience, like how you felt when you were a child, something you thought you forgot, you know, like so it's like that's where the seat of maybe long-term memory exists, you know. Then when it comes to religious affairs, for example, when it comes to religious affairs, sometimes you notice that you'll say, I had a vision. No, I saw you in a dream, right? I see you for a dream. Oh, something happened, something happened. That it feels so vivid, right? Now, this is my comment basically. My idea about it is that the subconscious, right? It is always working when the conscious mind does not know. So it's like the underlying processes of our mind. So it's always making those calculations, it's processing, it's storing, it's keeping. It's why sometimes when they ask you some certain things, you don't know how you know it, but you just find that you somehow know it. Yeah. So the subconscious mind is always processing it. When we don't know, it's processing, it's keeping information, right? So I think that when it comes to the subconscious, right, and visions and telling into the future, I don't think it's anything particularly supernatural per se. I think it's more or less because the subconscious is working at at such a fast rate, at such a quick rate. That we can't even. It's not easy to really measure. So it aggregates the information in our surroundings, right? It aggregates the information in our surroundings and what is likely to happen, So it projects this image into us via dreams. So it tells us via dreams and visions sometimes. So it's like, okay, I've seen this happened in the past. This is what I've been in the process, and this is what I think is going to happen. Then you find out sometimes these things actually happen, and sometimes they might not happen, but they will happen in a certain way. So I think that the subconscious mind is always trying to talk to us. It's always trying to communicate to us. It's always trying to project what it feels is right, what it feels is wrong, or the actions that we should take. While sometimes in the religious circles, this is sometimes mistranslated as something else. You get, so I think that it's not too mystical. It's not particularly mystical. It's something that is real, that we are still on the borders of understanding or getting to grips with. So I think that it plays into religious circles. It's what most people, or most religious charlatans, they try to capitalize on and say that it is something else. You get, so I'm not saying that anybody's religion is wrong per se. I'm just saying that if you look into the processes of the mind, the mind that's how the mind works basically. And if you ascribe it to maybe some supernatural mystic, it might be inaccurate. It might be inaccurate here and there. Then just to round up, yeah, that's it basically. So I think just to support Wid's value, or just to contribute, I think that the subconscious is a super processor. It's a super processor of information. It's when you don't see it, it's working. When you don't, when your conscious mind doesn't know it's working. It's always taking in information. It's always taking it. It's why you make actions that you don't know. It's when you see, for example, maybe you see an attractive guy and an attractive lady, your body just responds in a certain way. You're not thinking of responding the way you're responding. It just responds because that's how you are, So I think the subconscious, I think we should look.
How do we control? Because today
it doesn't need your control. It does what it does. It just does what it does.
In our last
That's what I think.
You can control.
Okay. God has said should be cautious of positive things. It will coordinate the subconscious you. Okay.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
With value,
Yes,
I was hoping
Alex,
you would tell us.
Come again.
Go on, please. I was hoping you would take us through on how to optimize our conscious mind in regards to how we react and respond to realities of life. Because you remember in our last week discussion, you were trying to explain to us that most of us we react, we don't respond. So
Yes.
I was expecting
Yes.
you were going to take us on how to optimize using our conscious mind, because from the whole explanation you've given now, I've come to understand that most decisions we take are based on our conscious mind.
Subconscious mind.
Subconscious mind.
Yes.
Okay, because you said that we pick things from our subconscious mind pick things from our environment. These are the things we pick from our environment. What we have in our subconscious mind are the things we pick from our environment. Okay, I agree. So that means our environment influences the decisions we make sometimes. Okay.
Exactly. If you could take a picture of your environment and you compare it with your subconscious beliefs, you will not see any difference, because your life right now is a reflection of the information in your subconscious mind. So
are you trying to say that our conscious mind is not, if you are to rate the percentage, which is more active? Are you saying our conscious mind is more or less inactive to some certain extent?
Like I said, I don't know if you remember when I said that your subconscious mind is active around 98% on a daily basis. It is always operating 98%. Your conscious 98. So which means your conscious mind, you use your conscious mind at around 2%, at most 5%. And the processing power the processing power of your conscious mind is about to 40 bits of information per second. Your conscious mind can process only 40 bits of information per second, but your subconscious mind can process 40 million bits of information per second, according to neuroscience. That's huge. That's extremely powerful. So there's a question you asked. You asked a question saying that how can we optimize our conscious mind so that we can start making conscious decisions. Now, this is the answer. Yes, this is the answer. You cannot, like I said, you can see the difference in operation. You can see there's a huge difference between the conscious and subconscious mind in terms of operation and attention. Okay, so it means your conscious mind cannot in any way match your subconscious mind. So what you have to do is to learn how to reprogram your subconscious mind so that you can put the information you want into your subconscious mind, so that even when you're thinking, you're not paying attention. By default, you're going to go into your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is going to be playing what you want because you consciously planted it. You planted it there. I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying. So you program your subconscious mind what you want, so that when you're not paying attention and your subconscious mind has to pray, but it's praying the information that you want, the conscious information that you planted into your subconscious mind. Because the reason why I'm saying this,
it's just like a computer. Whatever you put in is what you get out.
Exactly.
The conscious
exactly.
mind.
Because it is like a computer. When you put a certain song into the computer, that song is going to play again and again until you choose to change it. If you don't change it, it's going to play again and again and again. So if you want it to play another song, you have to get another song and reprogram it into a computer so that it can play it. So that's the same thing that happens with your mind. If the habits, the behaviors that you're manifesting are not working for you, you have to pay attention to what you're manifesting. Because I said it is subconscious, it is operating below your conscious mind, below your conscious awareness, which means you don't see those behaviors playing. You don't see them playing because they are operating on unconscious level. When you're thinking, they pray when you're thinking, when you're not paying attention. So every time they pray, for example, you find yourself doing this and that, you're doing all wrong things that you don't want. You're attracting the bad relationship and what? Because you're doing those things on an unconscious level. So what you have to do is to reprogram your subconscious mind. You put programs in your subconscious that you want, so that even when you're not paying attention, they are going to play automatically. Okay? So when you're not paying attention, your subconscious mind will automatically take over. But now your subconscious mind has programs that you want. It is the program that in your subconscious that you want. So the subconscious mind is very funny. Let me give you a simple example to show you how the subconscious mind dictates your life. Let me assume that now, Hinex, you grew up in a family. From childhood, you grew up in a Christian family. Let's say that Angel grew up in a Muslim family. She's a Muslim. So for her, she grew up going to the mosque. She grew up doing this and that, from the mosque. She was taught everything about Islam. So right now, if you two people come to me and I ask you a simple question, and I ask you, Hinex, that please tell me something about Jesus Christ. Hinex, who grew up in a Christian family, is likely to tell me that Jesus is my savior. Jesus died on the cross for my sins. Jesus is a son of God. Jesus is this. Jesus is that. But if I ask that same question to Angel, he's probably going to give me an opposite answer to what Hinex has just told me. She's going to say that, no, Jesus is not a son of God. Jesus did not die for any of our sins. She's bringing those beliefs that were planted into her mind as a child. But what she's saying is not the truth, but also is not the fact. It's not the truth, but also it's not wrong. You get it? It is based on her viewpoint, her perception. It's not true. It's not fact. It's just a belief system that were instilled into her mind as a young child. So right now, she's defending the mind is defending its identity that was created right from a childhood. That's the nature of our intellect. In fact, the purpose of the intellect, what we call the intellect or the conscious mind, the information in our subconscious mind is for our survival. To say, when I say right now, in my intellect is telling me that I'm a black guy, I'm an African, I'm a Ugandan, I am, so my identity, my mind is going to protect that identity. If someone comes and says, no, Africans, you're this, African, you're this, immediately my survival instincts are going to raise. My conscious mind is going to contact the survival mechanism to come to protect my identity, because the conscious mind is a survival mechanism. It is to keep you to survive. Every information in your intellect, including the 5 senses, is a survival instrument, if you know what I mean.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I get you. Thank you so much.
I want to ask a question.
Okay, go on, Alex.
With Valley, do you believe in a deterministic universe? Are you a fan of that ideology?
Deterministic. What do you mean by that? Can you break it down a little bit for me to understand?
Like, what I mean is, for example, the circumstances of our life, right? It's almost impossible for it's almost impossible for an individual to control the circumstances of his own life because of because of his neurology. Like, everything happens, right?
Are you talking in terms of fate and destiny?
No, not quite. No, not at all. I mean, in terms of, like, okay, let me explain. For example, now, take for example, each and every one of us, we did not actively decide where we were born. Like, we did not decide. We didn't decide to be born where we were born. So therefore, we're thrown into an environment that shaped us in a certain kind of way. So this shaping and these experiences that we had, we didn't decide that we would have those experiences, right? So they just happened, and as you rightly said earlier, all of us here are products of our upbringing and those things that we were exposed to. So, in a way, we cannot act outside of the way we are currently, the way our brains are shaped, the way our ideas are shaped by forces that we had no control of. So more or less, all the choices that we are going to make, right, is already determined, already predetermined by number one, our environment, our upbringing, and number two, by the nature of our biology, right? The way we are wired. Some people have more.
I think, my viewpoint on that. Yeah. I think we can determine that, because right now, if I can raise my hand unconsciously, I can also raise it consciously. Okay, so those things that we say that we don't determine them, especially in our life, in this kind of life right now we are living right now.
Yeah.
We can, most of the things that we manifest in life that comes into our life, they come because we are living unconscious lives. Okay, of course, if you're living unconscious life, the things that are going to manifest in life are going to be unconscious to you. They are not going to be in your control. But if you become conscious in life and start doing conscious things, that means even things that are going to come into your life are going to be conscious. Like, you can determine what's going to happen in life. Let me give you a simple example. Okay, we now know scientifically there is a biology. There is someone. I think you can mute that person.
Oh, sorry. That should be me. I'm sorry.
Okay, it's okay. Thank you very much. So there is a science, the new science. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's called epigenetics. Okay, the word epi means above. So when I say epigenetics, I mean above the genes. Okay, there is something that controls life which is above the genes. That is consciousness. Okay, so we used to believe that genes actually control our life. is that our life is a manifestation of genes. For example, if you're born in a family where people have a genetic problem, you're going to get that problem because it is in the gene. But right now, scientifically, we know from epigenetics, we know that's not true. It is, we learn those things we don't get it genetically, but we learn them through epigenetic. We get them epigenetically, okay? We learn they are learned through the behaviors that we learn from families. And there are some experiments that were done by researchers. They could get a child who's adopted from another genetics, from another family, which has a different genes. So they bring that child in the family which has diabetes or which has cancers. And when a child starts learning behaviors and the characteristics of the family, he grows and starts manifesting the diseases which are actually in that family, which means these behaviors are actually learned, but learned through family, by learning, not epigenetically. So you can see that our genes don't have much control. Yes, they have a certain control, but much of it is epigenetically. It's based on our beliefs or how we interact with our environment. It is our perception. In fact, perception is the most powerful thing. If you could understand something about perception, not like environment, because sometimes people say that it is the environment that controls your perception, but this is not entirely true, because you can live in a good environment, but if you perceive it as threatening or bad, it's going to manifest bad things in your biology. So it is your perception of the environment, not perception itself, but your perception of the environment that controls everything, almost everything in your life, including your biology, because this is how perception controls your life. There's someone here who commented placebo. I don't remember the person. I saw the comment here. He talked about placebo. Placebo now is a belief, is a positive belief. Okay. When, for example, you have a certain ailment and you go to a doctor can give you a pill which doesn't have any medical content into it. But if you believe in a doctor and the doctor convinces you that you see this pill is going to solve your problem, and you take it, you're actually going to that problem is going to be solved. But that pill doesn't have any medical content. What healed you? It is the belief. Okay, the doctor planted an idea in your mind, and that idea produced chemicals in your biology, and those chemicals manifested health. Now, let me tell you something very interesting about your mind. Your mind, like we think in pictures. I think I have made a lot of videos about that. We think in pictures. Okay, when I say a dog, when I say a bird, when I say a chicken, when I say a fridge, all those words, for you to get an interpretation of what I'm talking about, they have to draw a picture in your mind. By that picture, when it gets into your mind, the brain converts that picture into chemicals that match that picture. So that chemicals or neurotransmitters or hormones, they flow in your body. So every picture that you have in your mind, every thought that you have in your mind, it has a certain element of chemical. It has a certain degree of chemical. So those chemicals are here influencing your biology. They communicate with your cells. So let me see how I can put it in a clear way.
Can I ask a question after you're done?
Okay.
Okay, so this still ties into the genetic view, but this is a bit of we are still on the same topic, but it's a different approach to the question, right? I want to push the idea as far as it can go, right? So you said basically that we are responsible for most of our actions in a way because we can't control our actions. Okay, so what if I ask the question, or I give this scenario, right? I said. For example, okay, when I mentioned it, you raised your arm, right? You raised your arm and say, okay, yes, I have control. Now, what somebody can say, what somebody can posit from that scenario is that you raised your hand in response to to what I said. So you did not decide initially that you would raise your hand, but in response to the environment or the stimuli or something from the environment. It's like take two different people, for example. Two people who grew up in the same area. They are students, two students, right? One has a good upbringing. He has a wealthy family. It's from a wealthy family. The other isn't. It's from a more poor family. But let's take the father, the one from the. I'm trying to give a scenario. So the one from the good upbringing, right? He makes certain decisions based on the influences of his mother, for example. Maybe his mother is always telling him to before you enter the class, bow before you enter the class, right? And the other one, he just tells him to walk through the other one from the poor upbringing. Maybe doesn't have any orientation, right? So you have that these responses, right? These are two different people from past in the same class, maybe of the same age, of the same. Let's say imagine that they have the same tribe, so they have the same biology, for example. Maybe they have the same clan or community, but then this one,
even twins.
even twins, exactly, But in response to some sudden thing from the environment, one is making different decisions from the other. You get so they are making different decisions because of environmental response. So what would you say about that thing? Because you're always responding to your environment, you're always making decisions based on what you are perceiving. How would
Yes.
you?
Yes. Now you see, you gave an example of two children. One grew up maybe in a let's use a rich
Yeah,
family.
similar.
Another
Yeah,
one,
let's say they are
that's
similar. Yeah.
yes, yes. So let's
Yeah.
let's you see, and also what most of the mistake people make is to believe that you see, children, we don't learn, like I said, the conscious mind learns differently from the subconscious mind. We have to understand, for example, a child who grew up in a good upbringing, or who was brought up in a very decent family, a child is not going to learn those things consciously. In fact, a child learns those behaviors when his prefrontal cortex is not yet developed. So it is the subconscious mind that is learning subliminally, and is learning by observing. Doesn't learn like when you call a child and you sit them down and tell them, you see, children, you should do this and this and this and this. No, children don't learn like that. They learn by observing, and they actually learn unconsciously. They learn when they don't know they are learning. That's why you see, because a child is operating in a different state of mind. They are in another world. They are in a creative brain. They are in the creative mind, which is a theta brainwave. That's why you find a young child having a broom riding it like a horse. Is in imagination, is in a creative world, is actually in that state, is actually riding a horse. You see it as a broom, but it's actually riding a horse. So it's operating at that level. So that is a very creative state of mind. And you can, I even in my book, I teach people on how to activate that state when you want to reprogram your subconscious mind, because we naturally, in between 0 to 7 years, we are naturally in that state. But as we grow, our brain state changes, goes in this and that, different, it
But
changes. But
don't you think, okay. But don't you think that child is riding the broom as if he's riding a horse based on what he has seen in his environment?
yes, because he's learning and experimenting. He's in imagination. His imagination. In fact, there is a neuroscientist I follow, who does regression. Does like they put you on stage, they put some machines on your brain, they plant a certain belief in your mind, and when they plant it, people can actually see it changing in your mind. They can see the waves, because they see the amplitude. They say this is the belief that is limiting you. They do certain things, and that belief, it disappears, and they replace it with another one vibrating on another frequency. And they tell you that a belief that was limiting you has gone. Sometimes people may not know that it's gone, but if it's a phobia, it is very easy to know. For example, a person was afraid of a spider before, but when after doing that experiment, they bring them, they say, now a spider is here. And the person is like, It's not applied anymore because things are happening here. Okay, the moment you shift here, everything changes here. That's extremely important. But reprogramming our subconscious mind goes back, reprogramming our life goes back to the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is extremely important because our life, the life we are experiencing here is a manifestation of your subconscious mind. If you could take a picture of your mind and you compare it with your environment, you wouldn't see any difference. But the interesting thing is that if you change here, everything here changes because this is a projection. It is a form of a hologram. It is in the form of it's a holographic in nature. This kind of life that we are living. It's very, very interesting.
So how can one reprogram that? And then you made a specific statement that caught my attention because we have a lot of single guests here. I don't know if Beke is here. Temilade is still here. You mentioned that our subconscious mind makes us attract the type of men we attract into our lives, right? Yes.
Yes.
So can you
Yes.
elaborate more on that?
Yes. We have to understand life. This is how life works. Life is vibrational in nature, and every time you go out into the world, there is a law. There's a universal law. It's called the law of attraction. Many of you, I know you're familiar with this law. It's a law of attraction. It actually determines the kind of things that we attract in our life. There's no mistake in life. Everything that comes to you, it is responding to your energy. It's responding. Your brain is like a radio, a broadcasting tower. It sends out information. It is always sending out signals. And of course, when it sends out signals, people who are vibrating at the same frequency as you, they are going to come into your life. It's like a telephone tower. When it sends signals, it is only those telephones that are tuned. When it is Airtel, it is only the Airtel phones that are going to tune into that frequency. You get it? So if you're here, you have a certain beliefs. Okay, you believe that all men, like many, I have heard many girls saying that all men are dogs, all men are this, all men are cheaters, all men are this. So if that's the belief that you have, okay, when someone can bring they can bring 9 guys, beautiful, handsome, standing there, 9 of them, they are positive, they have good behaviors, they are so loving, but one of them is negative. Okay, if you're a negative person, you as a person, you automatically on unconscious level going to be attracted to that person who is negative. Why? Life, this is how life works. It's a universal law. Like attract like. Like attract like. This is a universal law. It doesn't only operate in humans. Let me give you an example in music. People who do music on a professional level, there is a law in music called the law of sympathetic vibration. It's called the law of sympathetic vibration. So if you, for example, you get 2 pianos, you put one piano here, another one here. When they are all tuned at the same frequency, if you come here and press a key, let's say it's a C note, you press it here. The other piano, that particular key is going to vibrate without being touched. You've pressed here, but the other one is also going to vibrate. Why? This one is going to cause this one to move because they are tuned at the same frequency. That's a universal law. The same thing applies in humans. When you're here and you go out into the world, you're going to attract people who are tuned the same frequency like you. This is something that happens on an unconscious level. It's happening on a subconscious level. You don't know that it's happening. That's why you're going to, if people who have been in multiple relationships, you've been in different relationships, you're going to see that you're almost attracting the same person, manifesting different bodies. It's not a mistake. It's not that every guy is bad out there. No, because there are some people who are good and attracting good people. Okay, they're attracting good people because they're attracting people who are like them. We attract people who are like us in life. Okay, that is a natural law. Yes, exactly. This is a universal.
So when you as someone, you go into relationship with someone with the intention of being very honest, sincere to them, and they turn out to be the opposite. So is that saying that you're
Now,
actually that person
now,
and you're attracted
now, let me tell you something very interesting. Eh? You see, the first few days, or the first few weeks of dating, eh? Everything is beautiful. Do you know why? Because you're operating from your thinking brain. You're operating from your conscious mind. The subconscious mind, which has those memories that you learned, how your mother treats the father, how your father treats the mother, how your this and that, how what you learned from environment, what you learned from school, what you learned from these other people, what you learned from Telemundo, all those things, they're in your subconscious mind. But every time when you've met a new person, you're operating from your creative mind. You're so creative. You want to make this person happy. This is the person that you think you could spend your entire life with. Yeah? So you have to, make sure that he's very happy. So you're conscious. You're paying attention. But the moment you get used to that person, you start to what? To default into the subconscious mind.
that's
Then
normal.
sometimes, yes, you start operating you forget and operate from your subconscious mind. Because after a certain period of time, your problems start coming. You're paying rent, this and that. You start thinking about all those problems that your subconscious mind is always computing that information. So your conscious mind goes inside to think, and now your subconscious mind comes to take on the relationship, comes to take over the relationship, and it brings those behaviors it learned from other people and sabotage the relationship. Are you getting the idea?
Yeah, I got it, and it's really quite
Yes, the
very interesting.
subconscious
One
mind will
other
always
question.
interfere.
In the beginning, you made mention of that you're going to let us know, or you tell us why most intelligent people don't end up being as wealthy as we expect them to be. Take, for
Yes,
instance, you say a professor. A professor
yes,
who knows it all. You're expecting them from their
yes,
wealth of knowledge to be able to create wealth for themselves, and unfortunately most times you find them not doing not so well in the society. Do you get? So can you actually tell us why is that so? Or you see brilliant students, while they were in school, they were very brilliant, they were the best in their class and top of the class in school, and after school you see them struggling to make ends meet. So can you maybe let
yes.
us know? We have limited time now, will still be done. So please, you can just try to make it very brief. Thank you.
Yeah, so it goes back to your conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Eh? Like I said in the beginning, that your conscious mind learns differently from the subconscious mind. These two minds operate differently, but you have to understand every time you read a book, okay, you read those books, you're training your conscious mind. Your conscious mind, like I said, its operation speed, its processing speed is just around 40 bits of information per second, and you're using it around 2%, at most 5% on a daily basis. Okay. When you read a book, these professors, they read many books, they're so equipped with all kinds of information, but they are training their conscious mind. They don't know how to train their subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is the part of the mind that is either going to make you poor or make you rich, because it's a habitual mind. Right now, we are breathing automatically. We don't know. We don't even think about breathing. Why? We breathe automatically, but we can think, we can choose to think, to breathe automatically. Consciously. We naturally breathe automatically, but we can start breathing like consciously. Start breathing out. Breathing. In fact, breathing is extremely powerful if you learn to breathe consciously. So everything that we do unconsciously, we can learn to do them consciously if we pay attention. And if we do them consciously for a certain period of time, we are going to reach a point where it is going to be picked by your subconscious mind and it start operating even when you don't know. Okay? You're not paying attention. This is the same thing that happened when you're learning how to drive a car. Okay? You remember the first time you went into a driving school and your driving instructor was telling you to do this and this and this, just some of you were even driving automatic cars. but he tells you that he prayed this, you cannot do this and that and that. You feel like you're going to kill yourself. You cannot do all those things at once. But when you practiced and practiced and practiced, you shifted those different things to your subconscious mind. Okay, now you can drive because you know you're not driving. It is not you driving, it is the program, it is the subconscious that is driving the car. You can drive when you're on phone, looking for a penny, putting a gear, accelerating, balancing the clutch. You can do all those things when you're not paying attention. You drive, that's why sometimes you can drive from work, you get home and like, oh my God, how did I get here? Because you're not driving, it is the subconscious mind driving you. It is the subconscious mind because you taught it how to drive. In fact, when you start driving, the way you drove when you're unconscious is the same way how your instructor was driving, how the instructor taught you how to drive. That's how you are driving when you're unconscious. If you had a terrible driving instructor, then the way you are driving when you're unconscious was horrible. If you get my point.
I get you now. I get you. Thank you so much, Wit Valley. You've really done well. I don't know if anyone still has other questions or maybe inputs to contribute. God Abeg has been very, very contributing from the comment section.
Yes, Alex, there's something I wanted to comment on. Alex talked about this. I think something very important.
What's
Okay.
that?
Like he talked about, I don't know, maybe I'm going to paraphrase it, but he talked about how the like things which seem to be mystical, things that seem to be miracles, how we make this and that, and for some people think
Following
they're
under
miracles when they're
anointing.
actually.
Yeah, like following under anointing and such.
You remember, yes. For example, like a person. Can you repeat that question? I tried. I tried to write it down, but it's not very clear.
Yeah, you're on track. You're on track. It's like religious experiences, basically. Like when they,
Yes.
like
Yes.
yeah, when they feel like maybe when they feel like they've seen a vision, for example, or
Yes.
they feel as if they've experienced something mystical. For example, maybe
Yes.
their mind
Yes.
shows them something
Like
in a
yes.
dream.
Yes.
You know,
Because
that is more or less like the
what people don't
subconscious.
understand. Yes. Because what people like when you understand that awareness is different from the mind, okay, then most of these questions can get answers very easily, because awareness can move in different parallel realities. Because like I always tell you guys, this physical reality is so different from what our senses are telling us. It's extremely different from what we perceive with our senses. This what we call space-time is actually an illusion. In fact, the way I look at it, it's like what we are consciousness, but consciousness is like this is I'm paraphrasing. I'm giving a loose example. I'm loosely giving this example. The way I look at it, it's like consciousness is putting on a virtual reality goggle. If any of you has ever put on a virtual reality goggle, a VR, we are not in space-time. We are in a non-local dimension, which is not in space-time, but we are putting on a virtual reality. So we are experiencing this physical reality as real, but whereby even space-time does not exist. Because the reason why I'm saying this is this: what we call future and what we call past does not exist. It's just memory. It is in a memory. What we call tomorrow is not going to come until it becomes a now. The only moment that has ever existed on the face of this planet is now. Only now. Yesterday, it wasn't yesterday until it was a now. Tomorrow will not be tomorrow until it becomes a now. Everything happens in the now, but it happens in the form of parallel realities. So you, the I am, or awareness, is moving through these parallel realities. That's why there are some people who are able to see future, also see the past. Because if you learn how to decode this information, because it's all about decoding, your awareness has not evolved to a certain level of decoding this information. There are some people who are born naturally gifted and they can decode this information which is below in other parallel realities. So they can go in They can cross communicate with other entities in other dimensions, in other, those extraterrestrial beings, because they are all existing there now. You can go deeper into meditative state and start contacting different layers of perception, those parallel now, and bring them into surface. You can bring them on surface, but still you can fail to give the, to decode them. That is the same thing that happens when you dream at night. When you dream and get those lucid dreams, there are some people who have dreams that are more real than this physical reality. They go into the dream, and even I know every one of you who have dreamed, you have experienced certain dreams whereby you're like, it's real until you wake up, you're like, oh my God, you are so real. You even start questioning whether it's a dream or not when you're still into the dream, because your awareness goes into another reality and collapse. They call in quantum physics, it's called the collapsing a wave function. Collapsing a wave function means to create reality awareness, because awareness is synonymous with God. Awareness is God. Awareness is universe. Awareness is consciousness. We are consciousness. We are the creator. We are gods, actually. We are gods that are manifesting through this body. We are one. We are one consciousness manifesting in different ways. Because consciousness, or our creator, is infinite in nature, is infinite. So something infinite has an infinite ways of expressing itself. And one of those ways is you. So that's who we are. But it's very difficult for some of us to accept that we are awareness, we are the creator. But this creator is so unconscious to us.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
While I do agree with you, for the most part, you are on point. I think you are on point for the most part. Like, I even there was this analogy. I was thinking about time recently. Then I was trading ideas with somebody, and this person said, look at time like a river, right? I'm under the impression that the future doesn't exist yet, right? Because it doesn't exist. That has never happened. But the past is something that we can draw on. So it happened, so we can draw out of it. But the future, not quite. It's more or less trying to find an occurrence, the best probability, right? So it's like, so the time is basically for each and every one of us is like we are on a canoe on the river of time, right? We do not know where we are headed, but we know that where we are coming from, and we are in control of our present now, right? So we can sometimes we interact with other people who are also along this river, making their own passage. Sometimes we share the same time and space with them, right? Your analogy works well. I do not have any objection. But just one thing, maybe you comment on it afterwards. Space-time, do you mean that space-time is not actually real? Like when you mentioned something about space-time.
Yes, in my perspective, I don't think it's real. It's just it's an illusion. It's holographic. It's not like, for example, if you're watching a hologram, if you're watching a hologram, you're watching a TV. People who are in a TV, they are real to themselves.
Yeah.
But you are the observer outside that hologram. You know it's not real. So for us, human beings who are operating here with these conscious units of who we are, different people, we see that it is real, but probably there are some other entities or some other form of intelligence outside this hologram that who can see that these people are actually a hologram. They are observing outside the hologram. I'm getting the point. So in my perspective, I believe it's not real. That's what I believe from my understanding. Yes.
Yes, so from my own point of view, just one second, I'll round up now. I'll round up now. 1 minute, 1 minute, well, 1 minute, just to round up. So I believe from like the position of science, right, that since it's measurable based on the quantum equations, right? You said you get the collapsing wave function. When you observe it, it collapses, right? So I believe that space-time is measurable, right? That's from my own perspective. I think it's measurable. So in terms of that, there is some level of reality to it. So I feel what you're trying to explain, right, because we found at the fundamental level, at the most fundamental level in physics, we are still unable to understand even the electrons. We do not even know if electrons are real. We just know how they behave. You get, so at the quantum level, we have complete knowledge at the quantum level. So I think that space time is real for now because it's measurable. Then maybe in the future we'll have a better understanding. Maybe when our mathematics evolves, right, we'll be able to conceptualize these things better. But I think space time is real. So that's just me.
Okay. Okay, guys, thank you very much for participating.
Yeah, this
Thank
was
you so
It was
insightful.
much,
an
Miss
interesting
Valley.
interaction.
I truly appreciate your time and thank you everyone who has been engaging. I'm so grateful. I appreciate the time and effort, the attention you've paid to listen to Wheat Valley and seeing how much you all are contributing. It means you are actually following up with the lesson. So thank you so much. In the lighter notes, Wheat Valley, I will agree with you that we
Yes.
are on Netflix and some entities which we believe are aliens are actually watching us, especially this Nigeria. Thank you guys. We've gotten to 20K tap. Wow, thank you so much. Where is my screaming? Where is it? Where is my clap? Oh my goodness. I don't know if he's making that sign. I can't get it now, but thank you so much. Thank you. I truly appreciate. So I will agree with you with value. We are actually not real, especially we here in Nigeria. We are actually probably on a TV station and they are watching us, laughing at us,
Are you sure?
thinking they are aliens, whereas they are the actual existence. So thank you
You
so
know?
much. I truly appreciate your efforts. Thank you, With Valley, for taking out the time to come take us on this um, wonderful lesson. I've learned a lot, though I'm still trying to reprogram my mindset to know how I can feed in more positive things into my subconscious mind
Yes, you can
to
go
be
and
able to
download my
optimize
book.
it the
I have some
best.
books. You can go and support me. You can go and
Okay, yeah.
download some of those books. They are packed. They are packed with some good information, very good, especially when it comes to reprogramming your
Where
subconscious
can we
mind.
get this book downloaded?
They are on my website.
Where can we get this book downloaded? Alex, you
They are
can
on my
we can
website.
debate more another time, not today. We have to go to Angel's Live, so we'll call it a wrap here today. Thank you so much. I
We'll go
truly
and debate on
appreciate.
Angel's live.
Yes, we'll go and
Angel, we are
continue
coming.
the conversation there. So thank you
Okay,
all. I truly
guys.
appreciate. Thank you so much, with Valley. You say on YouTube, right? We can download your ebooks on YouTube. Or where did you say we can get them? On your
They
website.
are on my
Sorry.
website.
Okay, please can you write out the website address? Write it out in the comment section. So for those of us that want to go download this can do that now. Please just write it out in the comment section. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Henry. Thank you, God Abeg. Thank you, Alex, Angel, Beke, Shato, everyone that was here and couldn't stay till the end due to maybe network factor, one thing or the other. Oh, on the viewers' eyes, I have Arab Woman King. Arab Woman King, you're welcome. Thank you for joining. Hope you enjoyed the live. Joseph, thank you. Everyone, Temilade, everyone that has breathed in and breathed out, those watching from the viewers' eyes, FYP, I say thank you so much. I truly appreciate you. So we'll be calling it a wrap here. Hopefully, we'll be seeing you next week. Next week, we'll be talking about negligence. That's what we'll be talking about. So if you want to know or get more insights on what negligence is and who can claim to be neglected or who is neglecting who, please do well to join me next week, same time, 7 p.m. I can't wait to host you all again. Thank you so much and I love you. Bye. Bye, everyone. Please, guys, unmute your mic and tell me bye bye. I
Bye
like
bye,
to
bye
hear
bye,
you
bye
all
bye.
speak.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye. God, I beg.
Yes.
Unmute.
If you want
Bye.
go, you know go go.
Wait.
Bye.
Until they go.
Wait.
Wait.